Hi everyone, I'm gonna record a quick video. This is gonna be the last video for Project 2C, and we're gonna work on, also this is the video for Module 8B, and then we're gonna finish up today on, let me share my screen. So where is that? Okay, so let me go to Canvas real quick. Um, Today we'll be completing a couple of things, and today I'm not gonna be going through any slides or anything because because all the theory is already covered. Like, so if we go to this recycler view review, again, we already done recycler view in this lecture over here. We already did recycler view and layout, so I'm not going to cover that today. We're going to simply, I think that was in lecture, at least that was in lecture module 5B. I think we covered that, so I'm not going to go through any slides today. We're simply going to go over a couple of things from Project 2C, and then this is going to be our last video for Project 2B and module. So this is also going to be the video for module 8B. So next time I start writing code, I'll be writing on Project 3. You will be figuring out the rest. So far we have implemented adding a new Dream menu item. We've done that. Implement a swipe to delete feature. We use that swipe to delete feature that we have already used that in the swipe gestures. I think we learned that already. And then the third thing was we haven't done this. I think you need to figure that out. And we talked a bit about implicit intent, and we even took a picture using implicit intent, but you need to do number 4 yourself. Number 5, we have done that in the last lecture, lecture 8A. I think it was lecture 12, module 8. And then displayed a zoomed photo in dialog when clicked. So this also, you need to figure this out. Today we're going to implement a recycler view for Dream entry. We have done the recycler view before, but we're gonna do it again. Do some more practice and implement a swipe to delete feature, delete reflections from DDF. So we're gonna work on these two things today. It's gonna be, I think, a short lecture. Hopefully I can finish this quickly. And I'm recording this lecture and not next week so that you guys can get ahead in your project. If you decide to finish this weekend, I'm totally okay with that. So I just wanted you guys to finish this project early, right? So let's get started. Let me get my notes on the side here. And okay, so I have my Android Studio. I'm just going to start from the code that I wrote the last lecture. I haven't added anything new. I'm just going to start from what I did the last lecture. So first of all, we need to go to the Dream detail layout. So we need to go to the Dream, this one, the fragment Dream detail layout. And we need to, first of all, remove all these buttons, right? So we're going to replace this button. So these are hard-coded buttons. How we did that was a really bad practice. We're not supposed to hard-code it, and it didn't have a clear rule. But now we're simply going to add this, replace this with a recycler view. So let's do that first. We're going to delete these 4 entry buttons. So just delete all of that. So that's gone. Delete everything. And then we need to convert the space. So we have this space over here. We're going to convert this space into a recycler view. So let's do that. How do I do that? So what I'm going to do is, I think there's a simple way to do it, is like go here, convert view, and then we're going to convert this to, I think there should be a recycler view. Okay, I see it here, right? So recycler view, widget recycler view. I think this is the one you want to use, the Android X dot recycler view dot widget dot recycler view, and apply that to that, right? So this is giving you some random items. We're going to change that with the buttons there. Just bear with me. And then we're going to change the ID of the recycler view to Dream entry recycler. So let's change that. Let me change this to Dream entry. Make sure you name this correctly. I think that's going to be relevant to you as you are doing the tests. Make sure that these IDs are named well. So dream entry recycler, right? So that's the same thing we need to do here in the vertical, sorry, the portrait as well. So that was the landscape. Let's do the same thing for the portrait as well. We're gonna delete this. Where's the buttons? So we need to delete this, and then we need to add a recycler view here as well, right? So let's do this. Let me delete all this first of all. We don't need any of these entry buttons. I'll delete all of this. So that's gone, right? So here I see that I have a space here, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna simply add a dream. We're just gonna add a recycler view over here, down here, and that's that, right? We don't need to change any spacing here. Pretty straightforward. Make sure to change this ID to the same as the previous ID. That was the dream entry recycle. Make sure that these are correct. Again, these things are very important. It's gonna give you issues if you don't type it out correctly. So it should give you some conflict here. Why didn't it give me a conflict? Dream entry recycler. Let me make sure that I copy and paste the same thing here so that they have the same exact ID. Okay, so I think that's fine. I don't know why it didn't give me, I mean, that's a bit weird for me. But let's continue again. I think that's good. We have this dream entry recycler. And then we also have the dream entry recycler ID for this one, right? So we have this entry recycler. So let's keep on going. And then the next thing we're going to do is yeah, so the next thing we will do is we need to create one of the rows for the recycler view for dream entry, right? So for example, if you remember, what we did was list item dream, right? For one of these lists in that dream list fragment, we created something like this, right? In the same way, we need to create a new layout resource. You need to create a new layout resource. Here, let's create a new layout resource, and then we need to name it list item dream entry, and then press OK. And then we need to convert this constraint layout. So we need to convert this constraint layout into a linear layout. We do convert view, and then we'll do a linear layout. It doesn't matter. I think horizontal is fine. Then let's just add a button here. And then this is going to be, we're going to replace this. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to have to disable this first of all. We're going to do a few things with this button. We're going to name this button entry button, and then refactoring. And the second thing we're going to do, I think we need to do match parent here. Wrap content is fine. The width is, again, this thing. We'll do match parent. Height is the wrap content. We don't need this. Weight, entry button ID is fine. The button will just say entry button. That's just the text for the entry button. And it's giving me a nice blue color. And we're going to disable this actually. It looks nice, but we don't want that. Enabled. No, we want that disabled, right? We want these buttons to be false, right? We want like the similar to what we did before, it's disabled, and then it's going to be later configured based on what type of button that is, right? And I think this is a tools text. Hold on. Let me remove that. I don't think it matters. I think it's gonna tools text, and then we'll just say entry button. But we're gonna make it a tools text. That's just gonna, the difference between the tool text and the Android text is the tool text is just gonna show up in this design view, but the Android text is going to show in the actual program. So it doesn't matter, but I just wanted to change it here. The code for the text for the Android, we're going to change it later, right? So this is good. We have this. It's disable ID's entry button. And yeah, so this is good so far. And now we need to add these buttons. We need to add this to the recycler view, right? So let's go over there. Yeah, let's go over to the hold on, I can remove this, I guess. And let's remove this. And then let's go over here. Let's replace this, right? So this dream entry recycler here, we need to add one thing here. We're gonna say list item. We're just gonna say list item, but we're gonna use the tools one again here. This is just for us to see. This is not gonna actually show up in the um, um, list item dream entry. So this is just for us to show in this design, I mean in this file. It's not going to show up in the code when we actually run up in your emulator, right? But we're going to do that for the emulator by writing our code. So we're just going to do this. Now you see there's one button, right? So it showed us one button. Why is it only showing us? Only showing us one button for some reason. Isn't it supposed to give me a series of buttons? So dream entry recycler. So this is a recycler view and dream entry recycler. And then we did the list item, dream entry recycler. And then I think that's good. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the landscape as well. Let's go to the landscape view. Where is that? The landscape view, it's here. And then we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna go to the stream entry recycler. And the only thing we're gonna do is add the list item. Rules list item. And then we're just gonna specify the layout. And we're gonna add the dream list item dream entry. So it's just giving me one item. I mean, that is a little bit weird. Let me see if I'm missing something here. I think that's okay. I'm not sure exactly, but I think that's fine. I think we're gonna fix all of this using the code, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're done with the layout for now. I think we're done with the layout. We created so we created the vertical and the horizontal, and then we added this one entry for that recycler view, right? So we added this one entry, one button. And I think that's okay. I'm not missing something. Okay, so I think that's fine. Now let's go to the code. I think we probably messed a bunch of stuff by just doing that with our code. So let's go to the dream detail fragment. This is where these things are stored, and it's gonna give us some issues. Where is that? It should give us some issues here, especially in the update view. Yeah, so you see that there's some things like these were like hard-coded values. For the buttons, we're gonna remove that, right? We're gonna code it in a way that's let's remove this, but we're going to use the recycler view now to add the buttons, and then we remove all of that. The next thing we want to do is we want to go to the on view created now. After the view is created, on view created, and then we're gonna do something like this here. Binding the dream entry recycler is the one that we just created. And then we create the layout manager. And remember, this is the exact same thing I did for that dream list fragment. This is the same process we need to apply for this as well. If if you go back to the code for Dreamlist fragment on view creator, this is the exact same thing we did before. So if you want to go back and revisit recycler view, I would highly urge you to do that, right? So I don't want to go into too much detail. We covered this in our previous lectures. So if you feel free to watch that lecture on the recycler view and try to understand. Oops, excuse me. What did I do? I don't want to mess that up. All right, so that's we already did that, right? That's the exact same thing we're going to do here. And then we need to build an adapter now, right? Remember that we need to build a thing called the adapter and the view holder, and then pass the entries. We need to create dream entry adapter, right? So we need to create this in the same way we did this for the Dreamlist fragment here, like we created an adapter. Where is that adapter here? Yeah, so yeah, we created this adapter in the Dreamlist fragment. In the same way, we need to do that here as well now, right? So please go back to this previous lectures if you want to understand what that is doing, but we just need to pass that, right? So let's do that. Let's create an adapter, which we're gonna call it Dream Entry Adapter. And here we're going to add the adapter and the view holder, right? So we're going to do that, and then let's write some code here. This is going to be it's going to be the recycler view dot adapter dot, actually it's going to be dream entry holder, which we don't have actually. So let's create another class here. Remember, this is the same thing that we did this is the exact, I'm basically doing the same thing we did for the lecture when we do the recycler view, right? So remember, please review that again. Review.viewHolder, and then this is how you create it. And then we're gonna say dream, it's gonna hold the dream entry holder. And then we're just gonna initialize this. And all right, so we're just doing some stuff here, and then we need to have those three members. What's happening here? And then what is this saying? No, I don't want to make that abstract. Why is this giving me issues? Hold on. Let me see how I've done this. Copy and paste this. So you're going to have to create a class dream entry adapter, which is good. Maybe I named it incorrectly. We need to have a list of those dream entries passed to it. But let's see, maybe I do need to create those three functions, override functions. Let's do that. It's giving me issues here. I think I just need to create these three functions, and I think that should do the trick. Let me just do that on create view holder. Remember, there's three different classes that we do need to implement every time we implement the recycler view. The second one and the third one on bind view holder, and we want to get the one that has the position. So okay, so now that these errors are gone on this side, right? So I think that was the issue. I needed to create these three functions, right? So that's good. So now we created these three default function that needs to be implemented. We're going to add some more code to this. So the first thing we did, remember, I mean, again, I'm not going to explain too much. That we have already done this before. It's the same thing. It's going to create an inflator, and then we're going to put a layout inflator that's been given to us, and then we're going to inflate it from the parent, which is the dream detail fragment, right? And then we're going to give the context. and then we're going to do val binding, and then we're basically going to bind, we're going to have to bind this dream list item entry, right? So let's just do that. A list item dream entry binding, remember, so this we're trying to bind this, so we're going to have to bind each of that for each of the view holders, entry binding, and then we're going to inflate that, and then we're going to put the inflator, attach it to the parent, and then not attach, but give the parent, and then we're going to have to say false. We're not going to attach it immediately, right? We're going to do it later in the code. So we're going to we're just going to return the dream entry holder and pass the binding here. So it has this dream entry holder. So now for the dream entry holder, we need to put something like binding, dream list entry binding. So that's how we need to pass it. So remember, we need to give each of these, we need to put each of this, each individual entries, and then send it to dream entry holder so that it can recycle it, right? So I'm not going to go into too much detail again. Oops, we have talked about this in quite a detail. We're just going to skip that. And then we're just going to say binding here, and then it's going to just go over here, and then this is going to take care of each of those entries when we're recycling it. And then here we need to simply pass the entry size of the entry, which is this entries. It's like how many entries do we have, right? So we have like those reflection buttons, the conceived, and all those buttons. We just need to pass the size. We'll implement this a little bit later. And now let's write a little bit of code on this entry. So we need to write a function. If you remember, there's one function that we need to write to bind the entry. And then we're gonna just pass like the dream entry here. And then that's what we're here supposed to do. We're just gonna give the holder dot bind, and then we're just gonna pass the entry, all the entries, but we're gonna give a specific position, right? So it's just gonna give it one button, and then from that position, it's just gonna take it here and do something, right? It's so let's do that. So remember just the high level, right? So this adapter creates a bunch of entries, right? But this view holder, as you are scrolling through your app, right? It basically binds binds the data to this um, empty view holder, right? So this is what it does. And if you need more theory, please look at the lecture on recycler view, right? So I think it's not fruitful for us to go back and revisit that. I think it's time consuming. So let's just keep on moving here. And now we need to do something. We need to cut and paste some code from the stream detail fragment. So I think we have written some code on configuration of the buttons, which we are no longer going to use here. So this function is now no longer being called. So we're just going to cut this code. And then we're just going to cut this code. And then we're just going to paste this code over at, yeah, we're just going to paste this code over here. Um, oh yeah, sorry. So this needs to have the binding dot root. Okay, so we need the binding dot root for that. All right, so so which we gave here, right? We created these holders here, and we need to pass the binding, right? Just need the root here. We forgot to add that. All right, so we need to add this configuration, like the function to configure your button here. Let's do that. And then that has been done to us already. So this is basically gonna set your colors like based on what it is. For reflection, it will give the teal, concealed green, light gray, fulfilled, right? So that's all this is doing. And then we need to just configure the button set. So if we are given a button, then we're just gonna say binding dot entry Oh, we need to do, sorry, so this is not a member variable. We need to make it private val. Remember to make this private val, right? Otherwise, this is just a constructor. It's not a member variable. So remember to do that, and then we just need to do binding dot entry button, and then we need to configure for that. So if you so this binding is basically if we go to fragment dream, so this is the entry button, right? So that's the thing we need to configure here. That's the one that's been given to us. So we need to just configure that based on the button. We need to change the color, right? So that's all we're doing here. So now we need to pass this adapter. If you look at this dream list fragment, this is the same thing. If there's any changes um, in this list, then there was passed in a coroutine, and it was passed here to make changes with the dream, right? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the exact same thing here as well in the dream detail fragment. In the dream detail fragment, we're going to do the same thing. So how do we do that? Is we go to, where is that code? We go to that coroutine. All right, so we go to this coroutine. There's a lot of code here. It's confusing me a little bit. I think this is where I need to, I think this is where I need to change it, right? Yeah, so this is the one where I need to change it. Like if there's any something that changes in the dream, that means first of all, it will, hold on, let me write some code here, then explain this. So if something has changed in the dream, we need to get a new adapter, right? So that's what we need to do. If something has changed in the dream, there's maybe a new entries, something, we need to change that, right? So how do we do that? We're gonna do the binding, the dream entry recycler, and then adapter, we're gonna get the adapter, and then here we're gonna say dream entry adapter. We're gonna call this adapter now, and then here we're gonna pass the entries, right? How do we do that? Is dream is given. Inside here it's just gonna be it dot entries, and then this is simply passing all the entries here. It's gonna go over here, it's gonna go over here, it's gonna create inflated, and it's gonna create the view holder with this binding, and then it's gonna create a certain number of view holders, and then it's gonna pass those entries in this on bind view holder here, so that it creates all those buttons. Right? So that's all this is doing. This is the same thing we did, exact same thing we did with the dream list fragment, right? For the creating the list, and we are just trying to create those lists for those buttons. So I think that should be it. So let's try implementing this now. And I apologize if I don't sound very enthusiastic. I'm very tired. I'm recording this video on Friday evening. It's 5 p.m. right now. But I did wanted to you guys to get ahead in this project so that you can finish it on time. But let's run this code and see if this works. We wrote a lot of code. Usually that's how it goes, right? When you're creating this recycler view, it's a lot of code, and it takes a while for you to actually test the code. But make sure like there's no like errors in the code here. You know, that's the important thing. Usually it does work out. All right, so let's go to the dream detail fragment. Let's go here. It has 3 reflections, right? So let's go to the foster or adopt a pet, right? So I just see conceived here. Yeah, I don't know why this is, it was only giving me one list in that, right? So that might be a problem here, actually. I don't know why that is doing that. Oh, that's not good. Please bear with me. Just give me a second. I might need to debug this code. That was strange that it was only giving me one. entry in the recycler view in the beginning. Let me go, and then it also didn't change. It didn't. There were some issues that was giving me. So let's go to the stream fragment again. So we need to debug this code, right? So you will see me debug this code. Hopefully I can figure this out. Please give me 1 second here. I hope you can hear me and see my screen. Let me try to debug a little bit here. I'm not exactly sure. This is a very interesting problem. I didn't want to go through this debugging, but I might have to do this in the live coding here. Um, for some reason, it's not. So let's go to the list item dream entry. I think this is how it's supposed to be. It's just supposed to have one entry, which is fine. And then the dream detail, it only has one thing here. That's strange. That was strange for me in the first place. And this dream entry recycle. So there's something off here that I'm not catching here. For some reason, there's something is going on here. So let's remove this actually. Let's delete this. And let me add another recycler view. Hopefully this works. I'm not exactly sure. So it is giving me a list of stuff here. And then match parent is fine. Let me add an ID. I'll say dream entry recycler. Recycler. We copy so that it has the same dream entry recycler, which is good. And then it's gonna have layout height. Maybe I should set that to 0 dp. And entry layout weight. I'll set it to 1. And wait, set it to 1, and then I'll list item. And then I'm just gonna add that layout dream dream what is that called? Dream entry, something like that. Dream list item dream entry. List item dream entry. Okay, that's not working. It's just giving me one button. I don't know why that's doing that. I think that's the reason that's causing that issue, but I'm not sure why. So strange. Wow. Let me go to this code and actually look at the code for the solution and why this is doing that. I'm completely baffled. Checkbox, I have the text. Yeah, let me go to the code view and see if I can fix some of these. Okay, so let me go checkbox, text view, recycler view, Android X, recycler view. I'll see if I can just copy and paste this if I see something that's off with this code. It's the exact same thing. What's causing this issue? Did I miss anything here in this? Uh, let's see. Let's go to the stream list. Maybe there's something off with this button. Hopefully not. Entry button. Match parent. It's been disabled. It's called entry button. Wow, I really hate when this happens. Let me go back and retrace this, right? So first of all, we created the dream layout and replaced the button with the recycler view. So that's what we did here. Added that recycler view. And we converted the space into that recycler view. Dream entry recycler. And ID of the recycler. We did that, we added that. Then we create a new layout resources with item dream entry. Oh, this is so weird. I think I've done everything right. Dream entry recycler. How about if I just list the item? List item. Dream entry. It's only showing us one. Why? What's happening here? It has plenty of space. I mean, this is really makes me frustrated here. I'm not sure. Could it be because of how I have Hold on, let me copy and paste this code from the solution. Let me look at this. Oh, it's still giving me issues. Still giving me one entry button. That's so strange. Let's go back here. Dream entry recycler, we added this. And then we added the layout item, list item. Then we added the buttons, which is showing one item. Oh boy, what's happening? Entry recycle, match parent, 0 DP. And then let's add the weight. Maybe this is the, I don't know why this would cause such a big issue. Yeah, that shouldn't cause an issue. Match parent, 0 DP, dream entry recycler, which is fine. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go here, fragment. What happens if I add the fragment dream list? Oh, it's working. Okay, so the problem might be with the list item dream entry. For some reason, there's some issue with this. I can't point a finger. Let's create this again. All right, so this somehow it's giving an issue. List item dream entry, list item dream entry. Why would this give me an issue? That's a swan. Let me just change this again. Okay, so that's, I don't know what I did, started working again. It's very, very weird. Sorry about that. I don't know what I did here, but okay, maybe this was the problem. Maybe we should put this Android layout width and this layout height to wrap content. Okay, so I think that's the issue here. You need to put the Android layout width and the layout height. So basically, okay, I see the problem here now. So here in this, not in the button, but here you need to put the match parent and wrap content here. I think that's the issue here. Okay, so that was a big issue. Sorry, that took a little bit of time to debug this, but again, if you get into this issue, the only thing you need to do is for this linear layout, you need to make this match parent and wrap content. That the small things can cause such a big issue here. All right, so this is good. We figured this out. Sorry about that. Took a while, but we got to debug it together. All right, so it's good. So now we see the entry button. Now we see everything. Everything is working well. So let's run the code. Hopefully this works now. You don't need any of this. So let's run the code. Hopefully everything is working. Let's run it. Such a small thing can cause such a big issue. I might had to re-record the lecture for that and figure out what was going on. Let's go here. Okay, now we see 3 reflections here. 1, 2, 3. So let's go and add one more reflection. I'll say reflection ref1. I don't want to waste my time here too much. Ref2. Now you can add as many it's not hard-coded anymore like we did before. Ref3, Ref4, and you can even scroll this because this is Ref5, and I'll just keep on adding here, just make so that we can even Ref6 and Ref7. Now you see, I can even scroll through this, right? This is not what was allowed for me before, but now I can do this, right? So this is great. So this is what we wanted to do, right? So I think that should be the end of implement the recycler view for the dream entry list. That took quite a lot of debugging to fix that issue. So I'm glad we were able to figure that out. That was such a small issue, but man, can cause some serious issues. Now we're going to implement the swipe to delete feature. Again, we already did that in this menus and swipe gestures. We did already that in the swipe gestures. So I'm just gonna give you a little bit of hint, and so that you guys can, the only thing that should be able to be deleted is these ones, right? So let's try to put this in, try to rotate this and see if this works on this side as well. Okay. It looks like it works on both sides, right? Now you can add, let me try adding Amun, a reflection name Amun. That's my name. Okay, looks like it works. We have everything that's working. Let's close this. Let me stop this. What is this doing here? All right, so let's stop this. And now let's try to add this delete functionality, right? So let me trace myself, like where I was last. What did I code last? So yeah, we'll implement the feature swipe to delete and implement it for the dream entry. Remember, we've already done this again for the dream list entry. We're going to do the exact same thing, right? Start by writing this code in the dream detail fragment. So let's start by writing some code here. Oh yeah, remember, we need to create this function private. Remember, this is the exact same thing we did in that lecture. Get item touch helper. We're going to have to write this code. And then inside here, we're going to create an anonymous class like we did. Item touch helper. And then we're going to return this anonymous class. So return item touch helper. And then here, we're going to create something like the anonymous object that we did before, like in the last lecture. And then we're going to say item touch helper dot simple callback. And then here, first we're going to give if it can be dragged or not. No, it cannot be dragged. Also, we will make sure that it cannot be swiped in the beginning. You will see why we do this, because we're going to create one more function inside here that's going to be able to help us make some configuration while we are swiping. Because remember, we only want to be able to swipe the reflection button, not the other buttons, right? So we need to add a couple of member variables here. I think that's why this issue is giving this issue. We're going to say on move. Let's add that, and then we're going to add another function on swiped. Remember, these are the two functions we implemented, but we're going to have to implement one more functions. But before we do that, let's do something similar to what we did for the dream entry adapter. This is the exact same thing that we did in the lecture with the dream list fragment. Is we're going to create something that we can save, like for any given view holder, we want to save the given entry, right? And then be able to call it from the dream detail fragment. So to call that, we need to create this late init var bound entry. We need to have this bound entry, right? We need to be able to get this bound entry, which is a dream entry. And then we're going to do something called private set. So basically, this is going to only allow us to access this, but from outside, we will not be able to set it, right? So this is a more for protection so that this variable doesn't get changed from outside, right? And the second thing we're going to do is like here, when the holder gets that entry, we're going to simply add that in this bound entry. And now this can be accessed. So any entry in that particular holder that we're swiping, it can be accessed from outside, right? So that's it. That's what we are going to do. Now let's write some code here. First of all, we're not going to move. Remember, we are not dragging it, so we're just going to return false here. We're not going to be doing dragging and dropping, so we're just going to say on move false. When we are swiping, we're going to do certain things here, right? We are going to swipe. It says swipe is 0, but we're going to do something before that. But please bear with me here. We need to apply something here. First of all, let's get the val. We're going to have the view holder. And we're going to do as dream entry holder. We're going to cast it, right? We're going to cast a dream entry holder, right? So we're going to get this dream entry holder here, right? We're going to cast that. And then the second thing we're going to do is val entry to delete. So what are we going to delete? We're going to do the d holder dot bound entry. This entry that's been in this holder, we're going to delete that, right? So that's the entry we want to delete. And then we're going to do an update here, vm dot. This is the same way we have been updating. We're going to go to that view model, and then we're going to pass in this function that is going to update this, right? So how do we do this? We're going to do all dream dot copy, and then we're going to apply. This is the same way we have been doing this. Entries dot equals to old dream. So basically, we're going to copy the old dream, and then just for the entries, right, we're going to copy everything that was in the old dream, like we're going to copy the title and everything, but then we're going to apply something and change something, right? The only thing we're changing is the entries. So we're going to say filter not. And the only thing that we are going to be removing is if this ID of this entry, if this ID is equals to the entry to delete that ID. Remember, if you go to the dream KT here, this dream entry has a ID, right? It has a unique ID. So if that ID matches the ID of the entry inside the stream, then we're going to remove that, right? We're going to filter that. That means we're not going to accept that, while we're applying it, right? So that's all we need to do. This basically updates that dream, goes into this view model, dream detail view model, and then it's just going to update it here, right? So we need to pass a function. That's what we did here, right? We passed a function here, and that's done here, right? So again, we disabled the swipe, right? But we deleted this, right? After it's swiped, if anything is swiped, then it's going to delete it, right? If it's swiped, but it doesn't say swiped where or how or what, it doesn't say anything, right? So what we need to do is, first of all, let's attach this. Let's go to on view create, on view created, and then we're just gonna attach. We're gonna get this item helper. We just call this function, and then we're gonna attach this to the recycler view, which is basically binding the dream entry recycler. So we're gonna attach this function. We're gonna add this function to this recycler view, right? So that's all we're doing here. But right now still we can't swipe anything, right? Because we disabled the swipe functionality. So that's the last thing we need to do is we need to override something called something called the get swipe direction function, get swipe direction function. So we need to change something with this, right? So this will give us more flexibility while we are swiping those recycler view, right? So what we can do is it already, remember, it gives us this view holder, right? But we need to again cast it. Holder equals to view holder as dream entry holder, and then now val entry to swipe. So we need to be able to only swipe the dream, only swipe the reflection, right? So d holder, and then we're gonna get the bound entries, right? So we're gonna get the bound entry, what we did already here, right? We're gonna get the entries that has been bound to that, right? So now what we're gonna do is we get this bound entry. Now we're gonna check if this is a reflection. So we're gonna check if entry to swipe, if this entry, the kind of this entry is reflection, then we should be able to swipe. Let's remove all this. We don't need all this stuff. Then we should be able to swipe. That means we should be able to get, if this is the case, then we'll do item touch helper dot left. And this number that you see, this item dot helper dot left, this will return you some number that will allow you to swipe this reflection in the left direction, right? But if not, then we will return 0. So basically that's what he's saying is like if it is a dream reflection, then it will be able to swipe to the left, this will give you some kind of integer that allows you to swipe to the left. But else it is 0. That means it won't be able to be swiped, right? So this should take care of everything now. So now let's go here. So this is a little bit more trickier than what you did with dream list fragment. So this is a little bit tricky. Now you'll be able to see what I'm talking about as we are running this app. So let's go. I think I created like 7 or 8 reflections for one of these. Where is that one? Maybe it got. Let's just start this one. So now if let me try to swipe this, right? I was not able to swipe this conceived, but if I try this reflection, you see that, right? This can be swiped. Conceived, I could not do it. I'm trying to do it. It doesn't work. But here, 3 can be swiped. If I put a deferred cannot be swiped here. But now if I try 2, I can do this, right? This is working. Let me add 1 or 2 or more reflection. I'll just say reflection ref 1, ref 2. Let me add here and let me try to remove this, right? Let me remove that. It goes away, it goes away, it goes away. Oh, I was able to remove. Now I will change this to fulfilled and now I can't add this. So, and these cannot be deleted, right? So now this works. So I think that's the end of that. Let's see. So now this is what we finished. We finished implement deleting the reflections. We're able to do that. And then we're able to add this recycler view. Yeah, so that's working. We added this implicit intent. We haven't done this one. We haven't done this one. And also we haven't done 3, right? So we finished a lot of these. We finished 1, we finished 2, we finished 5, and we finished 7 and 8, right? So we did a lot of this. So I want to urge you guys to finish working on this assignment. So I wish you the best. I'm gonna upload a demo video soon, and the demo video is gonna show you how the app is gonna look like when it's completed. So that's it. I apologize for a little bit of a debugging detour, but I hope you learned something from that debugging experience. Things happen when you're doing live coding, and I can't anticipate everything, right? So it is a learning experience for you guys as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. I think that's everything. So this is module 8B, and this is the lecture for next week. There's not going to be any lecture next week. I hope this helps you, and I wish you the best for the project. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording. Bye-bye.